Alright fellas, after what has seemed like forever, we've been waiting for the return of Francis Ngannou to the MMA cage. After he left the UFC, the question was, where was he going to end up? And well, that destination would end up being the PFL. And then after this was announced, everything kind of went radio silent. Instead, Ngannou went on his Chase the Bag tour and almost beat Tyson Fury in the process. But now we're finally going to see him return to the cage against Renan Ferreira in a bout-billed Battle of the Giants, taking place in Saudi Arabia this weekend. So with all this going down, I want to have a look at this upcoming match, who's his opponent, and is this fight actually worth watching? So stay with me as we get to the bottom of all of this. Now, Ngannou has taken an interesting path over the last few years. Of course, his notoriety comes from his time in the UFC. He was the heavyweight champ and was well known for being a brutally hard puncher. At the time he was the champ, he was one of the biggest stars in the UFC and one of the faces for the brand. Him alike to many fighters at the time were looking over at their sport cousin boxing going, hey, why are those guys getting paid millions and we're getting relative peanuts? Why can't we have a boxing match and earn that big dosh? Yet after Conor and Mayweather, Dana White didn't want to devalue the brand anymore by having these sort of crossover fights. So there was obviously no access to these opportunities. With this being the case and Ngannou's contract running out, him and his team didn't really seem to care about the legacy of being a UFC champ and went looking for what can make them the most money, and fair play to them. I completely support what they did. The opportunities were there for a bigger payday, and they took them. First, he of course signed with the PFL in a bit of a surprising deal, yet he also found himself in the right place at the right time with boxing. With the heavyweight division being in a bit of a weird transition period with a lot of the big fights still being negotiated, the Saudis decided they still want to put on big fights. So they decided to get two of the biggest stars in Ngannou and Fury and dump them in the ring together. And you know what happened. Fury was out of shape, Ngannou surprised us all, I don't need to go on about it. With Ngannou's stock at an all-time high, he then got himself the Joshua fight. Back-to-back massive opportunities. Yet, I'm sure you also know how that went. With the demand to see him continue boxing dry up, we are now finally starting to see him fulfill his original obligations and get back into MMA with the PFL. And I gotta say, I didn't think this fight would excite me much. Yet considering how much is actually on the line with this fight, I'm pretty excited for it. Now his opponent Renan Ferreira is one of the bigger homegrown names in the PFL. Coming in at 6'8", he's best known for his size and striking power. Holding a record of 13-3, his career has had its ups and downs. In 2023, he won the PFL Heavyweight Tournament, showcasing his ability to dominate in the ring, with victories over fighters like Maurice Green and Denis Goltsov. Ferreira's most recent fight includes a notable win over Ryan Bader in February of this year, where he won by TKO in just 21 seconds, and this fight has led him into the Ngannou matchup. The quality of Ferrera has been questioned, yet especially in the heavyweight division with both being heavy punches, really anything could happen. A huge factor to consider is Ngannou has been out of the cage since 2022, so Ferreira definitely has activity on his side, and it will be interesting to see how Ngannou performs after being away from the sport for so long. Yet more importantly, what I think is the one thing that makes this so interesting is just how much is on the line. And just before we get into that, how can you watch the fight this weekend? Now there's really only one destination, and that's DAZN pay-per-view. Get yourself ready early and ensure you don't miss a second of Ngannou's comeback this weekend. So use the link down below, grab the pay-per-view, and I guarantee you don't want to miss this. And I'm not just saying this because of DAZN, I'm saying this because I'll be grabbing the pay-per-view myself, really just to see how this all plays out. The PFL has staked basically everything on Ngannou. It's a sink or swim fight for both the PFL and Ngannou. If he loses in this first fight with the promotion, it could be catastrophic. If he goes out and loses, it probably ends his days as one of the major combat sports draws. So the PFL is really taking a massive gamble. Such a big deal was made over acquiring Ngannou. He was the hottest free agent debatably in MMA history. So if he fails to deliver on all that promise, it could be catastrophic. The PFL needs him to win. Although it wouldn't be the end for the promotion, if it goes wrong, it would be a brutal blow. This is one of the first fighters the PFL has had under its banner who is a household name, and they would want to see him as a strong figurehead for the promotion for the length of his deal. Simply, Ngannou has to win. Although at 38, Ngannou still has a lot of tread left on his tyres. In a division where many fighters don't peak until their mid-30s, I wouldn't be surprised to see him steamroll over Ferrera. But this is exactly why I'll be watching this weekend. The contrast between legendary heavyweight champion with heavy hands who's been inactive for a couple of years against a decent fighter who has been active and is also a heavy puncher, mixed up with the potential consequences of what this could mean for Ngannou and the PFL's future, makes this fight to me a must watch. So now I want to hear what you think about the fight this weekend. How do you see it going down and what's your prediction? And just a reminder, make sure you are set up early for this fight and use that link down below to secure yourself the pay-per-view. Anyways fellas, thanks for watching and I'll catch you in the next one.